If I were to go over a list of all of the films that Kodak has made in its history and pick one, just one, my number one choice to bring a film back would no doubt be Kodak Ektar 25. In this video, I'm going to tell you why I think that Kodak should bring back Ektar 25 and talk a little bit about the likelihood of them doing just that. So stick around. The film was kind of interesting because it took its namesake from an old line of Kodak camera lenses from the 1950s. When the film was introduced in the 1980s, the film quickly gained a reputation all over the world for having exceptional sharpness, really vibrant colors, and wonderful contrast. It should come as no surprise then that Ektar 25 was a landscape photographer's delight. There'd never been a color negative film before able to capture quite the amount of detail that Kodak had achieved with Ektar 25. Yeah, sure, we'd had Kodachrome, which represented the gold standard in photographic film for the longest time, detail, resolution, all those kinds of things, but never before had this level of clarity existed in color negative film. So let's talk a little bit about the history of Kodak Ektar 25. Just like the creator of this video, Kodak Ektar 25 came to life in 1988. I guess at least I've not been killed off yet. When the film was announced, Kodak put out lots of press materials. There were lots of advertisements that came out around that same time that touted all the merits of Kodak Ektar 25. Lots of the same things that we just talked about, that resolution, that clarity, the color saturation, all those wonderful qualities of the film. And there were full-page magazine spreads, and I'll hopefully post a few for you guys to see. Was it just market puffery like these big companies want to do? Or was there some actual technological advancement that we could point our finger at to show that Ektar 25 was indeed better than what had came before? And turns out, there was a technological advancement. There was a new proprietary process created by Kodak for the creation of film. It was called ACE, Advanced Cubic Emulsion Technology. And it was this technology specifically that allowed for the finer grain and higher resolution capture. So let's talk a little bit about that ACE, Advanced Cubic Emulsion Technology. This process allowed Kodak to create film grain and dyes that were exceptionally small, teeny tiny little bits, and it should stand to reason that the smaller you make that, the more detail the film is able to capture. And it was this ACE technology that really allowed Kodak to increase the resolution of their film. But it wasn't just resolution that advanced cubic emulsion technology had helped advance, it also helped with color reproduction as well. That meant that Kodak Ektar 25 was a film that more faithfully recreated the beautiful colors of our world. Maybe that was a little over the top. But one of the major benefits of advanced cubic emulsion was the enhanced latitude. With the films that Kodak had created using that ACE technology, we're talking Ektar 25, Ektar 1000, and all manner of other films that they employed this on. Most subsequent films after that got ACE technology. But this allowed these films to be a lot more flexible. All of these films that were employing this technology had a wider latitude, which were much more forgiving for photographers. If they would perhaps underexpose or overexpose a shot, the film would have some built-in forgiveness there. And like we talked about, the sharpness and resolution, the finer grain structure associated with ACE technology led to images with lots and lots and lots of resolution. Thankfully for Kodak, ACE technology represented a significant shift forward, and it was a technology that they would continue to employ on into the future. It was just the advancement that Kodak needed to help maintain their competitive edge against Fuji. So now that we've talked a little bit about the tech behind Ektar 25, let's talk a little bit about the film itself. And as we go along, I'm going to post some photos so you guys can get a feel of what this film is capable of. Ektar 25 is renowned for its vibrant and saturated colors. It offers a rich and diverse color palette with accurate and true-to-life renditions. Colors appear vibrant and they're natural as well, and makes the images overall very well balanced. You can tell by looking at the reds and blues that the images were just much more accurate and appealing than lots of the other color films that had came before. Kodak Ektar 25 really represented a landmark for accurate color reproduction in the color negative space. While Kodak Ektar 25 provided a good amount of contrast, it wasn't the most contrasty film on the market. Unlike many slide films, Kodak Ektar 25 provided a nice balance. And as we already talked about fine grain, Ektar 25 is known for its really fine grain structure, which contributes to the exceptional image quality of many of the images that you see taken with Ektar 25. The fine grain allows for smooth transitions to and from the sharpness and really enhances that three-dimensional pop, and in some instances even made it possible to get the three-dimensional pop in 35mm format, ensuring that the minutest details are captured with exceptional clarity. And you can see this in some of the advertisements that we've already talked about. Kodak liked to do this whole thing where they would actually do a 3-page spread where they would start with a really zoomed in picture from another image, and you would see like a guy on a rock climbing cliff or something, right, doing his thing, and the image would pull back and then maybe pull back one more time, so you could see that that picture of the rock climber that you saw on the first page by the third page was actually part of a much larger negative. So Ektar 25 was able to capture really sharp images, and made kind of like we get with digital photography sometimes, you're able to get pictures within pictures. The grain is so small and the images are so sharp. So safe to say, at least for a while, Kodak Ektar 25 was a really popular film, and it was a film that was known and loved by landscape photographers. I would love to have the ability to shoot Ektar 25 today. I'm confident that that would be one of my go-to film stocks. So now that we've talked about the creation of the film and kind of what the images look like, let's talk about the subsequent history of the film. So in the 1990s, that's when the film really kind of came of age. That's when the usage of this film became more widespread, and as could be predicted, as the 90s drew to a close and we started to get closer to the 2000s and the onset of digital photography, many folks were not just drawn away from Ektar 25, but they were drawn away from film photography entirely, which led to the decline in usage of Ektar 25. And by 2004, Kodak would officially discontinue Ektar 25. It wasn't all bad news though. We thought that we had lost the Ektar name to the bins of history forever, but in 2010, Kodak announced the formulation of a new Ektar film, and that was Ektar 100. It was this film that would carry on the legacy of Ektar 25, and the film would offer many of the characteristics that people knew and loved from Ektar 25. The really fine grain, the really sharp images, and the really vibrant colors. And you can see from Ektar 100 images, compare and contrast those with Ektar 25 images, Ektar 100 was in that same vein. And by 2018, we got the revival of Ektar 100 in medium format. And this can be 100% attributed to the renewed interest in film photography as a whole, but by 2018, there was enough interest in Ektar 100 to justify bringing it to medium format photographers as well. So while it's worth noting that Ektar 25 and 1000 are really hard to find on eBay, maybe you'll get lucky and find one that's been kept in the freezer, but most of them are well past their best buy date. At this point, we're lucky to still be able to go out and buy Ektar 100. So one of my favorite landscape films, anytime that I'm out and I'm shooting some sort of colorful vista, Ektar 100 is one of my go-to films. I just don't like to use it with many people in the shot. But if you thought this video about Kodak Ektar 25 was cool, check out this video about another poppin' old film stock, and that was Kodak Aerochrome. But as always guys, thank you so much for watching my video, and we'll catch you guys next time.